Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the world famous podcast, Beating the Press, with myself, Ty. We've got Chris as well. If this is we're obviously a football podcast, and Chris has just gave me a little nudge before, because you just go and waffle on, but just give everyone a little nudge and tell them to subscribe and like if this is the sort of stuff you want to be, if this is the sort of stuff you're interested in, you want to listen to us, that'd be great. What we're going to talk about today, well, it's been a while, and I'll explain why. Chris, did you get COVID or didn't you get COVID?
I didn't get COVID.
I don't know if you were just putting me off and you were just like, didn't fancy seeing me.
No, I thought I had COVID. I thought I had, you get something in your throat and that, but nah, I don't think it was. Everyone around me is tested negative, so surely I'm okay.
Yeah. And well done for wearing the top.
Do
you know what? I don't even know why I spent that 15 quid on you, plus posting and packaging. And it's like, you've got one job to do, just stick your shirt.
Well, we've done it in the Christmas
in the podcast.
We've done it in the Christmas special, so.
Yeah, we did brilliant. Anyway, I'm sure everyone wants to know what we're going to talk about today. Well, we thought we'd talk about the hot topic at the moment, what it looks like to be the most exciting title race for about 5 or 6 years, I'd say, probably longer. I mean, I can't remember the last time we're in halfway through the season and there's potentially 6 teams within sort of 3-4 points. You know what I mean? And it's just and it's just a weird season. So that's what we're talking about today.
The season before last, that was kind of exciting, but it was only exciting really for Liverpool and Man City. You know, it was kind of everybody else was just kind of, the season was kind of done. But yeah, you're definitely right. This season just seems it's just absolutely crazy. Yeah. Absolutely crazy.
I think it's important that there's obviously apart from sort of Man City, Liverpool, Man United, Spurs, there's Leicester are there as well, and I think they deserve a real I think adulation and applause for what they've done so far. I mean, at the start, I know we're Liverpool fans, and we were saying how we had some injuries. They've had some big injuries as well. And they've actually battled through, and now they've got those players back. Soyuncu's back, Ndidi's back, and I think Justin James. There's 2 players I've seen in this 3 players in the league that I've seen, and I thought top notch. Justin James for Leicester, and I watched him. I just think top player. He's gonna end up playing for a really top team. Ashley Barnes, who a year ago I just thought was pretty average, has just gone right through the roof. On the other 2, so it's 4. The other 2. Robinson left back at Fulham, and Lookman as well. I remember Lookman when he was at Everton, he was shit.
Everton, yeah.
Them 4 players just like brilliant, but we're talking about Leicester. But yeah, so just the players they've got back, and I think Rodgers we obviously know is a top manager. He was so close to Liverpool winning the league. He's obviously got that experience of going far. Leicester have got players in that team as well that have won the league. And I just think, I watched the Chelsea game. It was a 2-0 win, but it could and should have been more. And they were really solid and good. How do you see Leicester? How do you see Leicester?
Yeah, it's kind of a reversal of last season, where they kind of fell away towards the end of the season. I don't know whether it was prior to the break that they started falling away, but certainly afterwards, they just seemed to just slip down. But it's just the exact opposite. Like you say, they're getting players back in. They're looking stronger all the time, and it's not a surprise for me when Leicester, they are a team now where I look out and I think, shit, they're winning again, and they're just ticking off the games. And I'm looking at the fixtures, I couldn't have done the exact opposite of you. I kind of forgot about Leicester for a second. Before we came on, I looked at the Man United, I looked at Man City, I looked at Liverpool, and
Spurs.
Spurs, yeah, Spurs was the other one that I looked at, and I was just looking at the difficulty of the top 3. Well, when I say top 3, I mean Man United, Liverpool, and City. The difficulty of our fixtures is quite substantial. I think we're playing each other, us and Man City, and then Tottenham. We've got difficult-ish fixtures. I'm not sure on Leicester, but yeah. So I don't know if can you bring up the fixtures?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just because, like I say, I was looking for one specific team to have a run of fixtures where I think that they could pull themselves up on it. And like I said, with Man City, I think they go to they come to Anfield. Liverpool week
Liverpool and Man City, the games coming up. So yes, I mean, I'm just
Tottenham.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the sort of Everton's Leicester's fixtures. Leicester have got Everton, so that they're obviously there. They've got Leeds, Fulham, Wolves. Do you know what I mean? So they're winnable games, and then they've got Liverpool. And then the thing with it is the next sort of 4 or 5 weeks are important because teams can play, just concentrate on the league, and then Europe comes back in, and then it's a different ball game. It's the teams that are playing Thursday, Sunday, do you know what I mean? It becomes a bit tough, especially if you're in the others. The reason why I think if you ask most fans that the best 2 teams in the league are Liverpool and Man City, the current situation with COVID, with no fans, with a tighter season, everything just makes it's just a weird season. The results we've had are just ridiculous. I mean, Man City had the worst start ever. What did they start with? They got 12 points out the first 8 games. That was almost relegation form, and now they've gone bang. They've just seemed to have caught a bit of form. And whereas Liverpool have obviously had the injuries, which has obviously had a major impact on the rest of the team. It's not just simply saying you've lost your defence. It's like you've got Van Dijk and Gomez, who are obviously your first choice. Matip's your backup. Now all 3 of them are injured. Now the backup is putting Fabinho in there. Now Fabinho is our best midfielder. You drop Fabinho, and then now you're gonna have to put Henderson in there. You've got your captain and your best midfielder moving out of there, which naturally, we've got Thiago and Wijnaldum, great players in their own right. It has an effect on that, and then the front 3 not firing.
100%. I've heard the argument throughout that the defence has had it was done well recently, but like you say, it's complete knock-on effect. You think of Fabinho, Henderson, they're masters at winning the ball back high up in the opposition half. And last season, for example, they'll be breaking down the play and then distributing the ball straight to Mane, straight to Salah, and they're 1-on-1 all of a sudden. Whereas this season, we don't seem to be able to win the ball back as high up, which then allows teams obviously to get men behind the ball. And then I don't think I can remember a time with Salah and Mane of recent where they've just had a 1-on-1 with someone. They seem to be always up against it. So yeah, massive knock-on effect. Not just the defence, but obviously the midfield. But yeah.
So I mean, where do you see Liverpool finishing? I mean, they're obviously, they're going to be. You can't expect them to be playing this ship for the rest of the season. It will turn. But where do you see him? I mean, obviously with it being a very broken. I mean, it doesn't look like they're going to buy a centre half. I just think if they could buy a centre half, I know we were messaging on WhatsApp and just having Socrates got released by Arsenal. I'd be like, fuck. You know what I mean? Literally, anyone who's played in the Premier League is decent and he's on a free. You just buy him, get him 6 months. Say, mate, you got a 6-month contract for the Champions. Just play. I'd take
Martin Skirtle about now.
I'd actually take Longman back as well. I would. I was like, we said it. I said, let's get the gang back together.
No, but to be honest with you, I'm, as you know, one of the most optimistic Liverpool fans, and I just at the minute I can't see us holding on to Man City, and that's my problem with the title. The rest, I don't think that Man United will keep up their form. I think that they're going through a really good spell at the moment, but they are having the rub of the green. Some might say, that's what champions do. That's kind of what we did last season. But a lot of the times last year, we were so superior. We would dominate the game, and then a team would have a chance close to the end of the game, and you'd be like, oh, we were lucky to get out of there. Whereas it's different with United. They kind of don't play too well and still manage to win. But yeah, so I think we'll finish second, but I just don't think it'll be anywhere near Man City. I think they're too far ahead. What about yourself?
Yeah, no, I think it's a really fair point. I think it's going to be. I think the next few weeks are really important. We don't want, if Man City obviously what the 4 points are clean, aren't they? If they win the game, they end up winning 4 points clear of us. And I think the important thing is we don't let them. If they go 7-8 points clear, then it's you're fucked. It's game over. Then do you know what I mean? Because it's basically just going to go bang bang. Because the rest of the teams, they're sort of like going through a really good patch, but you just know that there's that consistency and having to sort of go through it. And then the flip side of it is such a weird season, and everything's just not right for us at the moment, and it's like we need something to click. Because I don't think we're playing terrible. I just think we're not getting that rubber green. I just don't think we're getting some of those games where if you score that first goal, everything opens up. We're playing against teams that are just playing really deep, really defensive low block. That includes Newcastle, whether we're playing Newcastle, whether we're playing Man United or West Brom. They've all played the same way. They've all defended deep, and they've nicked a goal to get an equaliser in West Brom's case, or we've not scored in the other two games. So it's a tough one, and I think obviously I think bookies have got it right. Man City are rightly favourites, and they've got us down a second. I think just by default. But go on. Sorry.
I was looking into our fixtures, and we've got some tough fixtures coming up. I'd say after Burnley, I think we've got a couple of tough looking run, and I'm glad for it. I'm actually really glad for it because we struggled recently against a team that just sticks 10 men behind the ball. Like, we're not Man City. We haven't got the midfielders, barring Thiago. We haven't got our best midfielders in there that can break a team down. And even when we do have them all in there, we're still not Man City creative wise. But I just think, with the better teams, they've got to come out and play against us. Obviously City, they're going to want to have a lot of the possession. So we're going to have those situations where we can get Mane, get Salah one-on-one, as opposed to consistently trying to break a team down with the players that are not really capable, i.e. Gini, Wijnaldum and co. So I'm glad for the tougher fixtures.
I think that always thinks you always work two ways with that. And I know what you're saying. You'd expect teams to come up with the door. The only team that attacks Liverpool is Man City in the league. Every team we play against basically sets up deep and plays on the counter-attack against them. It doesn't make a difference who it is. So the fact that you're saying, we've struggled to break teams down, and I'd agree, absolutely the last 3-4 games. But then I just sort of say, we've done this for the last 2 years, 3 years. We've had to break things down. And I just think sometimes people in football, they overanalyze stuff. You're just going through a bad patch. We've had 3 years of pretty much fucking top-notch, amazing football where everyone's just been all the top players. Mbappe, who I'd love to play for Liverpool at the moment. Thiago would not have signed for us, just being named in the team of the year if you didn't think we were good, And I think it's just sometimes we've just got to take a step back. And you have your shit spells. It's normal. It's football, But I think you've obviously got the stuff, in place and how it looks. I think there's one thing, and it's the only thing that I would pull Klopp up on this season, and it's not even not buying a centre half. That's a recruitment strategy. I think we've got the best recruitment strategy in the country, in Europe, I'd say, and I've got never going to argue with that. With this, that's fine. If you're happy with what you've got and you think long-term sustainability, fine, all cool with that. The one thing that I'm really fucked off with him is that he's playing fucking Jota in the most pointless game in the world, where literally you could play but fucking me and you could have played. It's like literally it doesn't make a difference if you win or lose. You're going to top the group. It's like, why the fuck you played Jota and Salah? That's just like I can't defend that. You know what I mean? And and having Jota was on fire as well. You know what I mean? It was like people were like, well, Firmino's out, and we're like, yeah, and then it just sort of gave Firmino that kick up his ass, and now he's gone back to he's just been shit, Firmino. You know what I mean? There's only so much you can defend him, and I think he's off. You can say his counter press has gone shit. Everything's just like started from him. He doesn't bring a lot. You know what I mean? I saw Carragher pulled up some stats to say, how many times he's won the ball back up, and it's just like it's just gone downhill. You know what I mean? So
we were discussing before that obviously Firmino gives you the press and he gives you the work rate. He obviously gives you the creativity as well. But if he's not doing those things, then what's the point of him being there? I like you. I'm questioning, like, for the first time, and it's not a problem with Klopp. Absolutely not. I would never like to think that I'm questioning him. But the Taki Minamino, the fact that he's not getting any game time. These are players that need game time, and our lads are crying out for a rest. Not so much a rest. It needs breaking up. It just needs something different. Now, whether it be a slight formation tweak or something like that, it definitely needs to come. But I am glad for the introduction of Shaqiri in the team. He seems to be getting a bit more of a bite. And I don't know whether that's because of the link with Thiago. They seem to play very well with each other.
I thought Shaqiri's. I actually think we jotted out the front three. I'd go Shaqiri, Salah, and Mane. That's what I'd do at the moment. Because obviously he prefers Shaqiri. Shaqiri's obviously anything around the edge of the box is one of the best in the league at that. He's obviously got a really good delivery as well. The other thing that I think is just holding us back at the moment is when the ball goes wide into the fullbacks, they're not delivering it first time. The other thing that I spotted as well, especially against Man United, when that ball sort of comes to the half space, just on the edge of the box, corner of the box, gets rolled back to the sort of right-sided centre midfielder, he gets whipped in first time. They didn't do it. It only happened once, and that was when Henderson found himself there. When it was a corner, it brought back out, and he was there, and it got whipped in first time. Because as a defence, you never set. Do you know what I mean? You're sort of coming out, and then it gets whipped back first time. You can't reset yourself.
And that's a lot of the problem with our guys. Like you say, when they whipped it across one time, the guys were all holding the run because they expected them to hold onto the ball. I definitely see what you're saying on that.
That's what I see. I think we obviously need to Jota back. But I think the most important thing is just to stay on the coattails of Man City.
Still think we can win it?
I think it's a weird season. I think Man City are obviously favourites, and the fact you've got a 4-point lead now, and they've had this spell dip. This is our dip. Other teams will have their dip as well. So that's what I think. Man City are rightly favourites. I think we're going to obviously, but we need to go on a run. The thing with this team is it's done stuff that defies logic. Do you know what I mean? So I wouldn't question them yet, and I just think the only thing is, they are playing without a defence. There's only so much a team can do,
Exactly, yeah. And with Europe impending for City, you want to see where their priorities lie.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
That's key.
So that's us looking at Liverpool. We've had a little look at Leicester as well. You didn't say where you thought Leicester were going to do. What do you think? Where do you think Leicester are going to finish?
I think Leicester finished top 4. But I just honestly, I don't know with Leicester because they always seem to want to fall away. But I think top 4 is realistic for them. I think they'll take that last spot.
Ahead of Spurs, interesting.
Yeah,
I assume you think Man United are going to finish in the top 3 as well, top 4 as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't think that Spurs. I just don't think that they've got that killer instinct. They seem to sit on the heels too often once they take a lead, and it's not like it's the last 10 minutes they do it. They do it 46th minute. If they're leading 1-0 at half time, that's pretty much the tactic for the rest of the half. And I've spoken to a few Spurs fans. I've got a couple of our work, and I've got one telling me that believe in the process, Jose Mourinho. The other one telling me that they want him out. So you don't know which one to go with, and that's across the board with all the Spurs supporters. I think it's important to just whilst we're sort of talking on the outsiders. What about Everton? I know that if they win their games, I don't think they go above us, don't they? So and they've got a Premier League, Champions League winning manager in Ancelotti. Thoughts on them? No.
No. Sorry, Everton fans. That was short and sharp. I'm like you. I think as much as we say about Calvert-Lewin, I don't think he's what I'd call a top clinical striker. Obviously, Rodriguez is, and I think Allen and Doucouré top midfielders. I rate them really early. I think Holgate's been an not Holgate. Not Holgate. The other Godfrey's been an absolute revelation at left back. When he played left back.
Even Holgate, he's been decent, but I just think Everton for them to win it, a lot of things would have to fall into place, and they'd have to go the rest of the season without anyone pretty much picking up an injury. And you've already seen with Rodriguez, he's probably their key player, and he can't seem to stay fit for too long.
So we're writing Everton off. He said no Leicester. He said Liverpool unlikely. Fucking Lampard, that's a different podcast. Fuck that. Right, okay, move Man United. What do you think?
I want to say no. I really want to say no, but you can't ignore them at the minute. They're just like a little annoying little mosquito that doesn't want to go away. You think Fulham took the lead, they look well. And what the little lad what we were speaking about, was it Lookman? It was running the show, and I think they're going to score a few here. And they just, United took over. Pogba, he's just coming into his own at the moment. So he's kind of taken the mantle off Bruno Fernandes. Although Fernandes did have a few involvements last night in the goals. Pogba just looks like a different player. He's coming into his own a little bit. But what I will say, United are kind of benefiting from teams kind of disrespecting how good they are, like their individual players are. It's kind of like, it reminds me of the Brendan Rodgers team, Coutinho, not on that level, Coutinho, Sterling, Sturridge, where we had a really good forward line, then we had a really crap defence. Like, obviously their defence is not as bad as ours, but what a lot of teams will do, what they won't do against us in City, is they'll come out and they'll think, we can get a result against Man United. So their forwards are constantly in those situations where they are one-on-one. But yeah, so I just think that they're getting the rub of the green at the moment with us.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you obviously need a lot of luck to win the league, you know, and they get, I mean, if you go through the season, you know, they've had like some unbelievable luck to get last minute winners. You know what I mean? What did they have? Brighton, wasn't it? Like a last minute weird.
Was that this season?
Yeah, that this season, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Brighton, and didn't they have the one at Wolves as well? It was a 94th minute, something weird. Do you know what I mean?
West Ham.
West Ham. And the West Ham one where the ball's gone out of play and it's not given.
Well, even the handball on that one.
Yeah, and then the Fulham game was really weird as well, because I mean, I say weird. Your keeper's fucked up for the first one. It's like a monumental fuck up, and they've equalised from it. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, because it didn't look like they were going to score. Fulham have been decent, you know, and then obviously a Pogba world he's got to admit. And then apart from that, I don't think Areola really had anything really tough to save. Do you know what I mean? And Fulham had some chances themselves as well. So it's just, you know, little moments like that. I'd say the big moments are going for them, which is, you know, it's all right. But then ultimately, when it came to the crunch, like the Champions League, they fucked up. Do you know what I mean? And they were out. They're in Europa League. So I think that's like that. That's an indicator to sort of see, right, you know, when it really matters, what have you got? Because at the moment, it doesn't really matter. You know, you've got to win. It's like, you know, you're midway through the season. You know, you're not expected to win it. It's just so like Solskjaer's like, we're taking one game at normal speed.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it's the way to go about it. You know, and it's easy to just ping it on Liverpool and Man City and say they're the best teams, they're the favourites and stuff. But you know, you're there. You've got to perform. And the most important thing is to get wins, and that's all you can do as you know, as a team. Just lap up the luck. If you get if you get some good luck, brilliant. Lap it up and then just see how it goes. But like I think everyone's, you know, we're all chasing Man City. And the other thing about Man United is their record against the top six is fucking dog shit. You know,
well, that's what I was just going to say.
You know, you cannot win the league with the record they've got. I don't care if it's COVID or what. I remember when the season before, it was a Man City. There was a infographic that brought up, and our record against the top six was dog shit. We did all right, and it's like, that's why you're not going to win it.
Yeah.
Then when we just lost out of Man City, our record was good, and then obviously when we won it, record was really good. You know what I mean? And that's what it matters. You know, it's all right. You know, your Fulhams, and you know, you've got to be. The only game that they actually tried to play out and be aggressive was against Spurs, and they got fingered 6-1. So I just think it's like, you know, everywhere else is just sort of like defend deep, put on the break, and it's all right, it's working, it's fine. You know what he's doing with Fred and McTominay, you know what I mean, against the sort of bigger teams, Holding, and then just one thing on Pogba, I think we've slated him both, and quite rightly so, and I say quite rightly so, but I think more of that may well have been his agent. I don't know, we're not involved in seeing it. I actually think at the moment he's more important to them than Fernandes is, because he's playing better in the last few games. And I thought Fernandes against big teams, Fernandes, he just like I don't really like not just playing like against Liverpool. He was just non-existent. The thing with Pogba is he's doing stuff a bit more. You know, when we were saying he's like holding up the ball and thinking he's really good and putting his arm out. He's doing everything quicker now. It's better. He's much more sort of aggressive with it, with his passing and stuff. And I think he's more of a threat than Fernandes is. It's just the only thing with Pogba is when they're trying to get Fernandes in the players at 10 and they get Pogba in against the good teams, he's got to play out wide, and I just feel like he's wasted there. Do you know what I mean? To get the best, you've got to stick him in the middle there and let him go. But yeah, you know, I think Man United fans, they've had like 6, 7, 8 years of absolute dog shit.
I've started realising a couple of my mates are alive now.
I know.
Started texting me WhatsApp.
Man United fans are well and truly alive now. They think they've got a sniff.
Yeah. How is it down there? Jesus Christ, you've been back for 2 minutes. And that's what I mean. I think Solskjaer is playing it well because he's under no illusion where they are as a team. You know, they didn't come to Anfield and try to play. They pretty much sat back like a Sheffield United would do, and then they got the chances on the break like a Sheffield United would do. Although they probably should have won with the chances that they had right at the end. And then when they tried to play against City, you see what happened there.
Yeah.
There's levels, and they're not quite at that level yet, even without our centre backs and that.
Yeah, exactly. And I did put a tweet out there. I thought Man United's best chance to beat us at Anfield. I mean, how good would it have been to break that record? What, 67, 68 games unbeaten? And Man United, biggest rivals, going there smashing us. And you've got like centre midfielders at centre half. Do you know what I mean? You've got a front three that's out of form. You know, we haven't scored in so many games. You know what I mean? There's obviously a bit of lack of confidence and stuff.
And the confidence that they take from that.
Yeah, and that would have. I mean, it could have. That would have probably. You'd have thought that's not Liverpool at the title race, even though it's so early, or had a massive hammer blow, and they didn't do it. And I just thought, you know, and I'm just going to talk about Fabinho. I know you mentioned him, right? Okay, but before sort of having to move centre half, he was the best midfielder in the country, like consistently for the last sort of 2. De Bruyne was in and out. Well, I'd say De Bruyne's obviously like. Let me rephrase that. De Bruyne is the sort of. I'd say he's the best player in the league, but in that position, Fabinho was the best player. You know, in the holding midfield position, and I thought he was. And he was probably our best player as well. I know Salah and Mane get all the credit, but he was just, and Van Dijk, but he's been phenomenal. He's moved into centre half, and I'd say he's probably the second best centre half in the league behind Van Dijk now. There was a moment against Rashford where every other league, you're not thinking, fuck's sake. And he absolutely, you think Rashford's obviously hooked it. He just like, positioning was brilliant. He took him out wide, nicked it past him. And that was so like.
I know what I mean. It was when he should have slipped in Cavani.
And it's like his positional sense for playing there. And I just think, like, you know, when you go down, and I think he will go down as the greatest Brazilian to play for Liverpool. And he's just top notch, so underrated. He just cracks on, gets on with it. And if we didn't have him, and we'd be like mid-table, you know, not him, and no defenders. Fucking Nat Phillips and Reece Williams have been absolutely fucked, you know. Endo did all right as well, even though he's not centre half. But yeah, so no for Man United.
I will say we've got as much. United have got as much chance as we've got to win the league, and Leicester. I think we're all on a par. Like, you know, considering the amount of injuries that we have, I think it kind of levels it between the three of us. Although we're still a better team, I'd say.
Cool. So that moves us on to Man City. We've sort of talked about them. What do we think about them this season?
I think it's been a season of two halves. Like, you know, like you said at the beginning, they're absolute crap at the beginning of the season, then they've just come alive. And I think they've thrived off the fact that, you know, we've been dropping points. They're just saying, right, we can actually do this here, and we haven't even really got to try hard to win the league this year. You know, they're already quality as it is, and they haven't got to do anything extraordinary. The partnership of John Stones and Diaz, that just seems to be taken to a different level now. Not even Laporta can get in, and he was the second best defender in the league behind Van Dijk at one point. You know, so they've sorted out the back, which will obviously go a long way in helping in the Champions League, because they've always had the quality up front. It's just whether they can get Aguero back in there. But then I've been playing with that as well. Is Pep enjoying the fact that he basically isn't forced to play Aguero? You know, because when he originally came in, Aguero was pretty much not part of his plans. I'm just wondering whether, you know, the Kevin De Bruyne false nine or anything like that, is he kind of enjoying the way his team are playing at the moment?
Yeah, and absolutely know what you're saying. I do feel though at the moment we're talking about Diaz and Stones, great. They've not played. I think Man City's problem always defensively. It doesn't really make a difference who you play centre half of Man City in the Premier League, because generally they're going to win most of the games. The issue always came about when they played Champions League games or high-end Premier League games. You know what I mean? I don't think they've really played anyone yet, so it'll be interesting to see how they do. They obviously look really good. Laporte is still the best centre half. I don't, he's just coming back from injury. That's probably why he's not playing. He's still the best centre half. Gives a good balance on with his left foot. And De Bruyne went off injured against Villa as well. So I don't know. See, if De Bruyne gets injured
that
now.
Changes things,
it changed because he does stuff that I'm looking. There's people that you're trying to compare Fernandes to De Bruyne. I mean, I've got Man United fans who would just like saying that's just a fucking ridiculous comparison because De Bruyne is like a million. Do you know what I mean? Fernandes is obviously his record's great, but if you look at it, it is his record. Just scored like 27 goals, and I think 15 of them would be penalties or 12 would be penalties. It's like that just skews it massively. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like what your performance is like against the top 6 or big games. I'd say it's like not very good. So whereas you watch De Bruyne and obviously the big games for the last few years has been Liverpool against Man City, and we're obviously Liverpool fans. And I'm watching De Bruyne play, and I'm thinking he's a fucking cut above every single player on that pitch by a distance. And I'm like thinking he's a phenomenal footballer. I remember the game we had like Van Dijk. It was everyone was playing, and I'm thinking he is just like so far ahead of everyone. You could see stuff, the pictures he had in his head, his passing ability. You couldn't press him. He was just like he's just a brilliant footballer. So De Bruyne, he does stuff that he's just.
I'd go as far as to say, might be controversial, but I'd go as far as to say he's the second best player in the world. I think he's unbelievable. He's just like there was a pass to Phil Foden last night where he messed up. Phil Foden messed up, and I was like, "How did you see that pass?" Yeah. Like it's just.
I know. I'm thinking as he just wants to I'm going to hit this there, and I'm going to ignore that people are in the way, and by luck it'll get through. But that happens so often. It happens every fucking time. He just manages to pass it through. Like eye of a needle. It's like, how have you done that? He's just a top, brilliant player.
In his work rate as well. On top of that, is amazing. But his passing is unbelievable. I used to say whenever Messi used to misplace a pass, it was never a misplaced pass. It was just you were in the wrong place. You as the receiver were in the wrong place. And whenever you see Kevin De Bruyne go to pass the ball, you think, whoever he's passing it to, they're in now. It doesn't matter. It's going to them.
I'm like really excited once we get our defenders back. Not the fact that we're going to get our defenders back. I'm more excited that Thiago's going to play in the first choice midfield of alongside Fabinho. And I'm like, Thiago will run the show. The game against Man United, there's a couple of times when the ball went to him, he absolutely sold Fred and McTominay. I was like, oh my God, that's so bad. That's bad. I was like, literally for a second, you're thinking, put me into play.
I'm praying that we can see at some point Fabinho, Henderson and Thiago against the Man City 3 and just see how Thiago compares. Like everybody's going on about Fernandes and De Bruyne. I want to see how Thiago compares with De Bruyne on the big stage. Yeah,
no, I think the thing with Thiago's like different. He's obviously done it, and for Spain, for Bayern Munich, and he's the best player. He's been the top player there. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's different with Thiago. He's obviously, but Klopp made a really good, because you don't get a chance, you don't get an opportunity to sign a player like Thiago, and when that opportunity comes, you've just got to do it. And I think he's like what I'd call an elite footballer. Whereas Fernandes, you got him from Sporting Lisbon, which is not like, he's still an up and coming club, and it's a bit of a gamble how it works out. Getting him, it's like not Pepe. It's like buying Pepe from wherever they got him from Lille. But obviously, Sporting Lisbon are a superpower. They're not even the best team in Portugal, but he's obviously turned out to be great. But to get a player who's at his prime, who's playing for the Champions League, who's just won the Champions League and then coming to us, that's the pull that I think where Klopp has us in the world at the moment. Do you know what I mean? Like generally one of the top teams in Europe, and challenging for Europe, challenging for the Premier League. Players and teams see the way we want to play and how we're playing. Just be really good to see Thiago play and get a bit of momentum going.
Last thing, I was just wondering how, obviously we've had a few months on this now without the crowds in. How do you think that's playing its part in the title race?
Absolutely massive. You wouldn't be having the results you would do without, with the current, the players need that as much as anyone. And I think the one team that needs that crowd more than anyone else is Liverpool. They just feed off that energy. Even the away games, you know what I mean? And I think that's been it's helped. And I think that's helped Man United to a certain extent, just because they've not had, because those games, the games that they've come back from, they've been behind for a large proportion of that game, and the fans will be getting on their back. They've not had that. It's just been them playing. Even Man City, even the first, they have 8 points or something, you know what I mean? And 12 points after 8 games. Liverpool have had Liverpool it's been a weird season. I mean, obviously take the injuries out, and then it's just you talk about Man United's not getting last, and Liverpool have had to do the way. Do you know what I mean? They've conceded like the Brighton one when they got the penalty. Do you know what I mean? And they won against Everton when it's a lot of things are like flipping the other way, and you just feel that can't against them, that go against them.
The Man United one's a weird one, and like you said there, I think they are benefiting from it. If you think of the pressure that they're under at Old Trafford, usually they get a result. The attack. Well, the old school Man United, like a lot of the fans still believe that they're in that era. So they were asking something of a team that weren't really capable of maintaining that attack, mentality. And they were having bad results at the beginning of the season at home, and then I think that they started picking up a little bit. But it's more the away form more than anything. If you think of all the teams that they're playing against, the smaller teams, they don't have that crowd that can egg them on against the Man United. So 9 times out of 10, the technical team will win the game. But again, I go back to that point where teams think that they can get Man United, whereas they can't get at Liverpool and City. And so that's why I think they're massively benefiting from not having a crowd this year.
The other thing as well about Man United not having a crowd, especially at home when they play the bigger teams, they get away with it because the crowd wouldn't allow them to sit so deep and play on the break.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? They'll be saying, get out, go attack, and it's like, boo, you know what I mean? Every time just going along. It's easy when there's no crowd because you don't get any of them shouting. Players are human beings, you know what I mean? Regardless if you're playing from 60,000 or 100,000 or whatever, you can still hear them. So that not having that sort of negativity coming towards them certainly helped them.
It's the same with Spurs as well. I think Spurs would definitely suffer if their fans were in the stadium.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're getting wins and it's like sort of getting away with it. But I just think, I know we've sort of, we've sort of both agreed that Man City are going to win it and the rest of them are sort of chasing. But I just think this is such a weird league, weird season, and I think that there'll be more weird shit to happen. And I actually think from all of them, obviously I'd love Liverpool to win it. I just think Leicester look the most solid team, and if I go through their 1-2-11 and I'm thinking now that they've got the injuries back, I look and I think they've got some really good players and they've got some good backups as well now. Do you know what I mean? The only thing I'd say is if Vardy gets injured, because Ian Nacho's not at that level, that's the only bit where I think they haven't got any cover. And I think midfield of Ndidi and Tielemans really good, and they've got Maddison and Barnes inside. I think they're a good side. You know what I mean? And I just think.
You've pretty much just answered what my next question was going to be. Dark horse, other than City, is Leicester City. It's got.
It's Leicester City.
Yeah. Would you be surprised if United won the league?
Yeah. No.
I'm just thinking, would you consider them a dark horse?
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, and see where they are. But I think whatever happens this season, I think next season it'll just go back to normality. When I say normality, I mean Man City, Liverpool, and being, because you've let's just take things into consideration. Liverpool were 33 points clear of like most of these teams. Now you're not going to go 3-4 points ahead of them. Like halfway through the season. There's not, the Liverpool haven't dropped that much and teams haven't gone that much. It's the whole the lack of pre-season, the COVID, obviously the injury to your defence, not having that, and then that obviously has a knock-on effect on your field. Your front three not firing for a few games. I just think, and other teams are playing over and above, and the look at the VAR's had a big part to play in it as well, because they've now changed it, haven't they? Before it was very sort of like it'll change. Now it's clear and obvious, and they're letting a lot of decisions go. Decisions now are different to what they were at the start of the season. Different teams have benefited from that. They've changed the law. So I think next season, obviously, when teams get a proper pre-season in and the crowd's coming back, having some sort of normality, I think you'll get the sort of normal teams going back. And I think if you look over in Italy as well, no, it's not. You've got AC Milan, who everyone here would, normal Premier League fans would be like, oh, it's AC Milan expected to be there. Milan have been shit for about a decade, okay? So Milan have been like really shit. They've been like mid-table. And now they're top of the table, halfway through, like miles ahead of Juve. Like if you go through Milan's team, you've got Zlatan Ibrahimovic up front. They just signed Mandzukic. You've got Hakan Çalhanoğlu, Turkish international. They've got players that you go through, and these, like I mentioned, like their best players. And you wouldn't really think the top players, but they're actually performing over and above where they are. Yeah. It just shows like the core, and they're obviously not playing in front of fans as well. And into the second at the moment. it just shows how weird the season is, not just in England, across sort of, like in Europe and other parts of it as well. I think PSG would normally be miles clear. I don't think they're clear either. And I think it's just a bigger issue, and that's the reason why it's so close in the Premiership. But I mean, I think normal fans are lapping it up. Everyone's lapping it up because we've got nothing else to do apart from watch Premier League football at the moment. We're all in lockdown. So I just think it's a mad season, and nothing would surprise me to win it. But I think if you're pinning me to it, I'm saying who. Man City, I think it's they're the only. I'd love for it to be Liverpool, but I just think they're no defenders, and I don't know when to buy anyone who would obviously have an impact. I mean, if we could somehow get Fabinho in midfield, I think that would have a difference. Getting Matip fit, but then if Matip's fit, he'll still be playing Fabinho at centre half, and that's how I see it anyway.
Let's see how many times this season that our predictions change, because we had Liverpool in the last update.
Yeah.
Man City in this one. It'll be interesting what we have when the Champions League resumes.
Yeah, cool. Brilliant, guys. Thanks for listening us ramble on. As always, if you like what we say, comment, like, subscribe below. If you think we're talking absolute shit, let us know. Tell us who you think is going to win the league. Tell us if you think any of the players we've mentioned we're right on or wrong on. Just let us know. Stick it in there. Anything else apart from that? Have a great rest of the month and the day. We shall see you next time we see you, which will be a lot quicker because he won't have COVID, will you?
Let's hope not.
See you guys.
See you guys.